Good morning. This is HBM's Crypto-Corner for Tuesday, April 14th, 2015. Survivor Man, Where the Myth Began was aired last Wednesday on Discovery Channel and last Friday night on the Science Channel. But it'll be airing again for those of you who missed it on the Science Channel. And here we are. It'll be airing this Friday, April 17th at 8 Central and at 11 Central. And on Monday, April 20th, 3 times you will get to see it. If you're an early riser, it'll be 6 a.m., 9 a.m., or if you are a late starter, it's 4 p.m. Central. So those of you who are interested in watching Les Stroud in the Survivor Man program, well, here's your chance. I've seen the first 2 episodes of this 6-part sort of mini-series, and I've really enjoyed it. It's really been great. I think Les Stroud has really done the right thing where all this is concerned. So, looking forward to seeing the final 4 episodes when they air. They'll start airing again this Wednesday night on Discovery Channel at 10 Eastern, 9 Central. Next, well, Thomas Steenberg was asked, are stick structures evidence of Sasquatch? So far, all he sees is personal opinions and wishful thinking. But I'm going to play the video and let you hear it. Hear what he has to say for himself.
Okay, Thomas, one question that constantly comes up in the Bigfoot community is stick structures. And without laughing, can you explain what your thoughts are on that?
Well, I've seen a lot of, well, we all have in the Sasquatch community and on YouTube and things like that, many photographs and video footage of what people describe as structures constructed by Sasquatch, Bigfoot. It's kind of in my opinion, it's kind of another suggestion from many years ago that has taken on a life of its own, and many in the community now accept it as gospel, and it really shouldn't have.
And who was the first one that you remember talking about stick structures?
Well, stick structures, I think, again, was along with twisted trees. I first heard about them from a late friend of mine named Bob Tippins, who first suggested twisted trees back in the 1950s and came up with shelters as possibilities not too long after that.
And that's where it all started.
That was the first indication that anyone publicly suggesting that Sasquatch makes structures. But, you know, a lot of these stuff I see on video and films, they wouldn't keep the weather off a chipmunk, let alone a Sasquatch. I don't see how. And the Windwalker, the famous Windwalker video, which is, as far as I'm concerned, just a tall man in the distance. Interesting the way he's behaving. But the shelter they find, that was a Sasquatch. He used wax packaging rope, like the post office does, to put together. As you can see in the background, when the fire pit with rocks around it and everything like that. But I think a lot of it, and there are some researchers who just concentrate on this stuff because, quite frankly, they've got nothing else to follow up on.
Right.
And they've got in their heads, and they've got evidence of a Sasquatch in the area. And when I first suggested it's probably nothing except natural formations caused by weather and time or people,
Right.
They get mad.
Yeah.
And they get very upset some twisted trees to so-called structures in the wilderness areas of British Columbia and elsewhere. I've talked to many people who claim they have seen a Sasquatch in the wilderness areas of British Columbia and elsewhere, but I have yet to find one reliable witness who saw a Sasquatch in a structure
Or
twisted tree.
Right. All right, thank you very much, Thomas.
I don't think much more needs to be said.
He's been seen by more than just a few, where the tall grass grows. The kind of creature most folks never knew walked the woods of Ohio. They say it's every bit as real as you or me, and no one knows from where it came. Big and hairy like the monster ought to be, and the only one that has the name of the Grassman. Shaggy giant from the wildlands, he is the Grassman. By whatever name he's called, you can call him Bigfoot, call him Sasquatch or the Wild Man. In Ohio, he's the Grassman, though not a man at all. Massive body man could never grow like some Goliath from the past. Covered all in hair from head to toe, makes his home out in the grass. Glowing eyes burning in the night, must be 8 feet off the ground. It's plain to see he's keeping you inside. Could it be he knows you came around to see the Grassman? Shaggy giant from the wildlands, he is the Grassman, though not a man at all. They've seen others of his kind, found the tracks they left behind. Do you know what's out there in the night? You won't forget if you ever hear the cry of the Grassman. Shaggy giant from the wildlands, he is the Grassman. By whatever name he's called, you can call him Bigfoot, call him Sasquatch or the Wild Man. In Ohio, he's the Grassman, though not a man at all. Still the Grassman, though not a man
Next, I found a really great website called ancient-origins.net. And they have all kinds of great articles, especially about evolution and human origins, which is something I've really been interested in as of late. DNA evidence. This story is pretty recent. DNA evidence suggests captured Russian ape woman might have been subspecies of modern human. And they're talking about the famous story of Xana, the supposed ape woman of the Caucasus Mountains. And they go over her history. Interestingly enough, Dr. Brian Sykes, if anybody saw the Bigfoot the New Evidence program, the one where they went to Russia, he's actually a former professor of human genetics. He analyzed the DNA of Xana's descendants and discovered West African genes, but surprisingly, her DNA did not match any known modern African group. Sykes theorizes that her ancestors may have lived in the Caucasus Mountains for generations after leaving Africa over 100,000 years ago. Saliva tests were carried out on Xana's living relatives, and a tooth was available for the remains of her deceased son Kvit, reports Mail Online. So I find it interesting that the evidence suggests this. But I mean, it's all done by DNA, and it's all part of what Dr. Brian Sykes did for the study of these ancient species, these ancient hominids or hominoids. Speaking of ancient hominoids, apparently the Denisovans actually bred with a completely unknown species. I thought this was interesting. This from over a year ago, but it's a very fascinating story, and I think it really applies to today and the studies of ancient humans as relates to possible unknown hominids or hominoids. So, could some of our ancient ancestors have bred with ancient unknown hominids or hominoids? Find it interesting. And you know, there was a book that came out a few years ago called You Are Sasquatch, which asked about the possibility that we may be related to some Sasquatch tribes. Now, am I saying that yes, we are related to Sasquatch? I really don't know. If that's true, then if that's true, then well, it could just completely rewrite the history of humankind as relates to ancient hominids or hominoids. Now, if Denisovans mated with ancient unknown species, then what sort of implications could this have for our modern history? I mean, are we indeed related to these modern mystery apes? Or is this just pie in the sky? Could this be possibly a genome sequence that was put in the wrong place or something like that? Or could it possibly be just some sort of opinion? I don't know. I wouldn't think so. But then again, some scientists have been known to be that way, as far as injecting their own opinions into things. But fascinating stuff nonetheless. And most likely for my next, I've got enough material here for quite a while from this website. So you're most likely going to see quite a bit of this on my HBM's Crypto Corner vodcast for the next few months. So that's it for this week. We hope that you enjoyed it. I want to thank our sponsors, Sasquatch Coffee and the Ohio Bigfoot Conference once again. And until next week, y'all be good or be good at it. This has been HBM's Crypto Corner.